well.
All right.
Yeah, we heard you loud and clear.
Yeah. For anyone here this morning who's never met Tom and Kristin, I invite you to grab your song card from this morning, the handout, and you will see a picture of their lovely family. So you can look at that and start to put voices with faces. We have Tom and Kristin on the call. And why don't you guys just take a minute, Tom and Kristin, and just introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your family. How long have you been in the Philippines? And like, what is your relationship with VictoryPoint?
Okay, thanks, Matt. So yeah, we've been in the Philippines for a little over 18 years now. VictoryPoint is the church that sent us out when we left the U.S. back in January of 2002. And VictoryPoint is our church home. We have a number of churches who are partners with us and support us, but when we come home to church in the U.S., it's VictoryPoint. And you guys are kind of our family. We've got 4 kids. So we've got Rachel going into grade 11. Flora is going into grade 9. Kate's going into grade 7, and Tessa is going into grade 5. So the kids are kind of growing up. Most of them were born out here. And yeah, we came out really young without any kids. We learned the language out here, spent over 2 years doing that. Then we spent about 14 years on a remote island, planting churches among the rural poor. And now we live in Manila just for these past 2 years, and we have a new role. And so, but through all of that, VictoryPoint has been our family, and we miss you guys.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, you guys are beloved, you know, to this family here. I mean, just 18 years ago, I mean, you guys were just young punks and were sent off overseas. And it's been cool to just keep up a relationship with your family over the years. You mentioned like you're in Manila now. I don't know if any of you watched the video on Thursday when we sent out our e-news on Thursday. There was a video greeting and update from Tom and Kristin, and all the kids were in the video, and Peach was introducing everybody. But you mentioned in that video too that you guys recently underwent like a transition kind of in your ministry role. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more in case anyone here hasn't heard about that?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, this is kind of surreal. We're sitting here in our upstairs of our house. We're staring at a beautiful Michigan field with a little pond, and of course, handsome Matt, Pastor Matt, is right there. And it's just kind of weird. We've never done anything quite like this, but we are blessed that you've given us an opportunity to share a little bit. I thought as we're moving more into leadership role, I've learned the importance of sharing what our mission and vision is, kind of who are we and what do we actually do. And I don't know if in past years, you've heard our heart, you've seen a lot of what we do, but to put it in a few words, who we are, what we do. One, as we work for World Team, and as World Team, we value community and working together in a team. That's one. So we value teamwork. Kristin and I have always had a team that we've worked with. We also value establishing churches that reproduce. So not churches that just remain churches, but churches that are actively growing. That's what we're actively trying to work toward. And 3, we focus on unreached people groups. So globally, World Team is in many countries in Africa, in Europe, South America, Central America, and in different countries in Asia. And our focus is those places where there's no churches or few churches and people aren't going. That's where our heart is. So that's a little bit about who we are as World Team. As many of you know, we've worked in Catanduanes for many years.
That's an island.
It's a province in the Philippines. That's an unreached people group, or it was before we went. And our whole time there is 14 and a half years. We worked on a team. We were actively trying to plant a church that would reproduce itself. And we've been in our first church plant. We left there in 2013. That church now is established. There are no missionaries there. And in the past 2 years, they, through their work or what God has done in them, have about 40 baptisms. And so it's very exciting in places that we've been a part of churches that we planted are now actively reproducing. And just kind of the last point that we've always worked on a team in Catanduanes, and it's just been a delight to have teammates that we complement each other on our gifts. Catanduanes Island, when we were there, our vision was to reach those 250,000 people to plant churches and to bring Christ there. In this new role, as we've taken on a role of leadership on this field, that vision has expanded. And our hearts are to see, in the Philippines, there's over 100 million people. And we wake up each morning, we want to see these 100 million people in the Philippines reached with the truth of Christ. And that's what we're working toward. That's where we spend our energies. So what do we actually do in this role? How do we actively take that vision, and how do we work that out? Sure.
Yeah, so just so you know, Tom's new role is the field director. So World Team has different fields around the world, and one of them's here in the Philippines. And so Tom has become our field leader out here. And I help him in that. I've kind of taken on the marvelously nebulous role of field director's wife. So that's what we do out here.
Yep, we still do some grassroots church planting. Recently, we started a new evangelistic Bible study with our neighbor, and just sharing Christ. We've done 5 Bible lessons there, and in 2 weeks, we'll share the gospel with these 2 people. And also, I do mentoring with Filipinos. We also cast vision, kind of like what I'm sharing now. I challenge our missionaries. We challenge people that we work with to keep that vision, to continue sharing the gospel, moving forward, raising up leaders, and planting churches that are reproducible. We do a lot of mentoring. We do a lot of encouraging, pastoral care, and we actively try to equip with training and trying to take the missionaries that we work with and Filipino churches that we are in partnership with to work with them, to equip them, to help them to reach more and more Filipinos for Christ.
Yeah, so I think we had a little more direct role before, but now a lot of our role is equipping others, kind of multiplying ourselves to equip other people to share the gospel, to share God's love and light with people here in the Philippines.
And you guys hear me? There's so much, so you were part of going into an unreached people group, and when you left 13 years later or whatever, they're now a reached people group. What an epic thing to be a part of. And then that huge vision. How many million people is your vision to reach?
Our vision is the whole Philippines, is to see over 100 million people reached. And obviously we're a small little piece of that, but we're part of something much bigger that God is doing in the Philippines.
Yeah, and we're humbled to be a small piece of what you do in reaching that vision. That is, I just get excited about that big vision. Hey, I got to ask, just because we've talked about it before, but just curious, how has this COVID global pandemic affected your life, your family, your ministry, over these last months and currently?
Yeah, so we're supposed to be with you right now. We were supposed to come to the U.S. This summer for a short home assignment to reconnect with our churches and our supporters. Our daughter was going to look into colleges. The kids were going to reconnect with family as we prepare to start launching kids into college. And obviously none of that happened. Instead, we're talking to you this way this morning. The kids have had a rough go. Ever since the middle of March, nobody under 21 and nobody above 59 has been allowed out of their homes in the Philippines. So we can sometimes get our kids out walking around the subdivision and they can go to medical or dental appointments, but that's it. Our kids pretty much haven't left home in 5 months. And, we got teenage girls, so it's rough. It has not been easy. There's been a lot of discipling that we've gotten to do in this time. And of course, many people will be familiar with the fact that, kids are doing online learning. Our kids are going to be embarking on an entire semester of that, starting in just a couple weeks, with really no promise that the next semester will be anything different after that. We'll see what happens. Ministry's been interesting. We can't go see people in quite the same way. Right now we're under heavier lockdown than we were a few weeks ago, So right now we have a quarantine pass that one of us can take with us, and that person can go out on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And that's it. We're not allowed out any other days, not allowed into stores, not allowed into banks, nothing except Wednesdays and Saturdays. So we've been learning, just like everyone else, to do Zoom meetings. Tom's been checking in with a lot of our workers. We've been doing prayer meetings, you know, as a group online. You know, but there's still a lot of other stuff that has to be done. So admin stuff, Tom has to go to the bank on Wednesdays because that's when he can go. You know, banking in the developing world is interesting regardless. You know, it's different, and we're, you know, trying to walk our people through contingency plans and trying to help them brainstorm about risk levels and what will happen if they get sick, and how they can still minister to their people and still share God's truth and love with people, and be creative and innovative in that time. And we're not doing perfectly, we're learning as we go, but you know, God's grace is sufficient for us, and we remind ourselves daily that his gifts are enough.
Yes, and I'm convinced that God put the right field director family in place for such a time as this. So, but I just appreciate that perspective. Gives us perspective on this affects more than just the United States. This is a worldwide thing, and it's affecting families and ministry, but you're also experiencing different kinds of breakthrough as a result. And like, just kind of as we move towards closing, like, where are you seeing God at work the most, or what are you celebrating? Where are you experiencing breakthrough in ministry, you know, just in the last season?
Yeah, quite simply, God is moving powerfully in Asia. God is also moving powerfully in the Philippines. And if you look at Asia, Asia obviously is a huge population in the world. The Philippines is one of the countries that God really is moving the most. From when we came in 2002 to where we are today, the Philippines is beginning to look like a different country. I mean, there's still a lot of corruption, there's still a lot of brokenness. I'm not trying to paint too rosy of a picture, but God is doing something, and we have been a part of that, and we're seeing it. I would love to show you this graphic, and it takes a city. It's called Kunming, which is in China. And if you draw this large circle around Kunming, you incorporate the bottom part of Russia, all of China, all of India, some of the smaller countries like Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. It incorporates Japan, Malaysia, and the Philippines. It's maybe 1/10 of the entire globe. In that circle, with Kunming being in the center of that circle, is half the world's population. And God is moving in that sphere, in that circle. The Philippines is in that. And we're excited because God is starting to send out Filipinos into Asia. And that's something that we see ourselves getting more and more a part of, seeing Filipinos participate in the Great Commission and go to these countries that's difficult to go into, impossible for Americans to go into, but Filipinos can go in there with the light of the gospel. So that's really exciting about what is happening here. And we are excited to be here in Asia right now.
Man, what a cool thing to be part of. Like one of the things we do around here is we remind ourselves at 10:02 every morning to pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into the harvest field from Luke 10:2. And I think that's now something I'm going to incorporate into that prayer every day, is just to not just send us, but to continue to send through you guys, Filipinos, into the harvest field, because the harvest is plentiful, right? Just the workers are few. Anything I haven't asked you that you want to share? Any word of encouragement, or just a word for the church here that you guys would like to share?
Yeah, briefly. I know that we got to get moving. A word of encouragement to you guys sitting right now where you are. When I talk to American Christians, I get a sense of discouragement. They're looking at the church in America, and it feels like for I think a lot of people, it feels hopeless sometimes, and things are waning. But I'm here to say our God is global. Our God is so much bigger than America, and he is moving in powerful ways globally that I think we really need to celebrate. Just the other day, I was talking to our teammates on Catanduanes, and just recently they started 5 new Bible studies. They've started another 3 that was started by the believers there. Again, that's that's reproducing. And so I want to just encourage that you guys don't be discouraged. Get excited because God is moving globally in ways that he never has. A quick stat, I've been learning a lot about Islam recently, and from the year 600 to 1950, for the most part, the movement was away from Christianity toward Islam. So it's 1950 to today, that has completely reversed 180 degrees. And God is moving amongst Muslims in ways that has never happened in the history of the world, and it's only growing. And I hope you guys feel excited about what God is doing, even if maybe in our neighborhoods we are sometimes discouraged. Don't be discouraged about what he's doing globally.
Great word. God is on the move. Hey, how can we be praying for you guys? Just, not just today, but as we move forward. Anything specific we can be praying for?
Yeah, you could pray that God would use this crazy time to draw more Filipinos to himself, that they would see that they need somebody bigger than themselves, and that what they've been trusting isn't enough. You could pray that we would lead in a way that glorifies God, that blesses our workers and their ministries. That, it's a different time where we weren't really prepared for it. And so we need God's wisdom, and, we need to know how to support what he's doing here and support the people that we're responsible to. And then you could pray for our kids who just are so isolated, and we're so proud of the attitude they've had, but some days are hard. And just pray that they would experience peace and joy and hope in the middle of their isolation. And as they embark on online learning again in a couple of weeks.
So good. We'll write those down and share those with everybody. We'll share this call with anyone who's not able to hear it today. You guys, I just want to pray to kind of close this out. But in talking with you, your hope, right, is now that maybe 2022, you'll be able to come to the States for an extended time. That's your next plan, right?
That's the plan. Yep.
Yeah. Our oldest will graduate from high school. And we need to come launch her. So the plan is, since we couldn't come now, which we've been planning on a long time, that we'll come in 2022 and help launch her and hopefully see a whole lot of you.
That'd be awesome. We look forward to it. May it be so. Hey, thanks for your time. I know it's like evening time over there in the Philippines, but let me just pray to kind of close this part out. Father, thank you for technology that allows us to connect as family, because that's who Tom and Kristin are, and Peach, Flora, Kate, and Tessa. They are family. They are spiritual family with us. Thank you for the privilege it has been to not just help launch them, but to continue to just partner with them, and not just the ways we can contribute to their ministry, but all the ways they speak into our ministry and encourage and inspire us. And even like today, just reminding us like God is up to something. It may be outside of the United States more so right now, but we get to be part of that, and we want that for our country as well. So Lord, use this time, use this season to reach people with the good news and the gospel of Jesus Christ. We pray for Tom and Kristin, just as they navigate in their context, that you will continually just always be enough, will always be what they need, and will speak to them as they obey you and just follow you each and every day of their lives. Lord, thank you for these friends who are family. In Jesus' name, amen.